So critical race theorists want to use deconstruction and race consciousness to understand kind of hidden ways that race and racism factor into America and American life. And they want to use that process to question the very foundations of the liberal order, including equality theory, legal reasoning, Enlightenment rationalism, and neutral principles of constitutional law. So deconstruction using race consciousness is one part of their academic process that basically gives them the lay of the land. It tells them what the racial dynamics are in America and where racism is happening. So it's also identifying problems for them. But they also want to present a solution. So the next part of their process is to reconstruct a race-conscious reality through theory. So here's them putting it another way. They attempt to construct a social reality and direct operation within it. So it's basically saying, given what we know, here's how we can present a better alternative and how we could better behave going forward. So we're finally circling in to kind of a full explanation of what critical race theory is about. They believe that through that process of deconstruction and reconstruction, through the lens of race consciousness, we can learn how to radically transform America to make it free of racial oppression. And if that's done sinking in, is part of a broader goal of possibly ending all forms of oppression. So critical race theorists want to use that process to end racism and maybe all oppression everywhere. I think it'll help click all this together if I give an example of this deconstruction and reconstruction process in action. And I think the best example to give is an early place that they applied that process to, and that place was academia itself.
The idea of trying to become have racial consciousness is so sad to me. Like, again, as a spiritual person, that is so low vibrational. It's laughable and it's sad. Like, I actually want to cry for these people. They really racial consciousness. That is just your ego. You're supposed to rise above that. It's sad, but I'm not surprised because a lot of these people are atheists. The only thing they have to pull on is superficial shit like your race, your skin color, your nationality. That makes up like, it's who I am, it's a part of who I am, but it makes such a small part of who I am. And that's all you see? That's all you see of me when you look at me? Is this? In history that I didn't experience? Completely neglecting what my actual lived experience is? Anyway, let's continue.
Academia itself. So critical race theorists looked at academia, and they looked at the traditional ways that they felt academics are supposed to behave. And they boiled it down to a few values that academics are supposed to have. And those values were to be objective, neutral, and balanced. And they say those values aren't shared American values, or even shared worldwide academic values, but instead values specifically from the white world. So critical race theorists believe that if you, as an academic, try to be objective, neutral, and balanced, regardless of your skin color, your academic voice is white. If your skin color happens to not be white, it just means that you've integrated into the white world, and in this case, effectively lost your racial identity when it comes to your academic voice. So critical race theorists think that this is racist because they think it presumes the superiority, in this case, of white academic values. And they want to put forward their own race-conscious alternative that would be designed to be distinctively not white. And that's a voice that they grounded in the concept of authenticity.
So again, who are these people making these rules? Because again, I'm pretty sure there's white people telling people of color how to be your race, how to be your ethnicity, how to be your nationality. Oh my God. Academia, hiring practices, news media is supposed to be objective, neutral, and non-biased. But what critical race theory is saying, no. You need to be subjective. And the thing on the top of your list needs to be race. That it needs to be your focal point. You need to be hyper-focused on race, completely eliminating any nuance that can possibly be at play here, and only focus on race. And if you're black or a person of color or you belong to these marginalized communities, you've just been brainwashed. I tell you this as your white savior. I need to tell you how to be black. world? Have these people ever gotten out of their fucking bubbles, out of America, to think that being objective as an educator or as someone who's hiring or as media is whiteness? Have never been to another country a day in their fucking lives. That is not whiteness. Like, there are many countries, cultures, ethnicities practice that, but I guess in their delusioned mind, no. Somehow whiteness sunk into their consciousness and stripped them away from their true ethnic selves. Like, oh my God, I'm sorry. Am I overreacting here? Maybe I'm overreacting. That sounds absolutely asinine to me. Let's continue.
Authenticity here means resisting integrating into the pressures of the white world. So if you integrate into the white world, you're inauthentic. But if you remain true to yourself by resisting integration as someone that's not white, then you're authentic.
But they're the ones who decided that it was white academic talking points. They're the one who decided that. Who gave them the right to decide that? This is what I'm talking about when it comes to neo-Marxism. They become the oppressors because they're making the rules. They decided that. They didn't ask everybody, do they believe this? Do they agree with this? They decided that that's what that was. Who gets to make that rule? Let's continue.
Then they went further to define their authentic, non-white academic voice as specifically being subjective and political. So critical race theorists, as academics, intentionally reject being objective, neutral, and balanced, because that would mean that they're inauthentically white. So instead, they are expressly subjective and political.
Again, they're the ones who can decide what whiteness is and what your race and your culture should be or is, right? Like, it is natural to assimilate or adapt to whatever country you're in. When I'm in India, it would be completely disrespectful of me as an American to demand that they all just act like Americans. No, I have to adapt and assimilate to India to a certain degree. Of course, I don't completely assimilate, but to a certain degree, I have to adapt Indian culture or even the parts of India that I'm in, because it is very big and diverse. And no matter what country I go to, whether that's Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam, I have to assimilate and adapt in some way. That is a sign of respect to that country. So if someone immigrates to America, they are naturally going to assimilate to some sort of American culture, especially as the generations go on, the first, the second, and third generation. That is natural. However, again, this is when white progressives or progressives in general infantilize, when you treat people as babies, these different marginalized or ethnic groups. They don't think that those ethnic groups have the tenacity or the wherewithal to hold on to the culture that they have if they feel to hold on to that culture. If you go to Hispanic neighborhoods, if you go to Cambodian neighborhoods, if you go to Irish neighborhoods, if you go to African neighborhoods, you see their culture there because they know how to hold on to their culture. They don't need your academic hand holding them and telling them how and teaching them how to hold on to their own fucking culture. But sometimes people adapt to a country because that is the natural thing to do. And sometimes parts of cultures should be let go. Like eating fucking chitlins. It's disgusting. Or honor killings. Or child brides. Some things need to be let go of cultures and to evolve. Why do you get to make that rule? Why do you get to have that say-so? Let's continue. I apologize for being so amped in this video. I am not Ryan Chapman. He's doing a very good job of being nice and calm. I'm not that, but let's continue.
So this approach didn't come out of nowhere. It was inspired by an earlier group of thinkers, and most specifically from this man, who developed something called critical theory. According to him, critical theorists work in academia with their political goals in mind. So they subjectively slant their academic findings to accommodate their political goals. And this is also, for him, part of a broader goal of ending all forms of oppression.
Listen to what he just said. This is what they're teaching your kids. They're not objectively giving your kids the facts, the evidence, the data, just teaching them history, just teaching them math, just teaching them science. They're being subjectively political and presenting academic in a biased, prejudice, and leaning way, right? How can your children learn and get the full picture when the teachers themselves isn't giving that to them because they're not being objective or neutral about the facts? They're purposely being subjective based on their own political ideology, which we all kind of knew, right? We all kind of knew that. So they don't present the data, they don't present the history, just this is the history. They present it in a biased, presidential way, in putting race on the forefront of everything. Is that how you want your kids to learn? Is that how you want your kids to learn? Because if not, parents, do something about it.
So that was an example of their deconstruction and reconstruction process in action. They deconstructed traditional academia and determined that it was white, and reconstructed their own take on academia using influences like Max Horkheimer in a way that they determined was authentically not white. So they could use that process and apply it elsewhere. So they could say, look at your workplace and deconstruct your workplace with race consciousness.
AKA, they lie. That's just another word for lie. We lie. We censor. We withhold information if it goes against our political agenda or our political ideology. That's not their job as teachers. You're supposed to give the students the full picture and teach kids how to critically think and analyze, to break down the information on their own and come up with their own conclusions. You can still present them the end conclusion of whatever study or whatever you guys are studying, but you allow them to come up with their own conclusion because that is a practice of critical thinking. I'm so glad I dropped out of college 3 times. Oh my God, I'm so fucking glad. Let's continue.
To determine the hidden racial dynamics happening and if there's any potential racism happening. And if they do determine that there's racism happening, they can reconstruct their own alternative for your workplace that again takes race consciousness into account and is designed to take racism out of your workplace. Let's talk about how they come to their conclusions. From what I can tell, critical race theorists use 2 main sources of evidence. One is to draw on their own personal experiences or the experiences of others that support their thesis. So throughout their work, you can find authors drawing on their own experiences. Like here, where an author talks about an experience in an elevator, and here, where an author talks about an experience on a playground as a kid.
Stopping it there. So technically this is supposed to be the end of part 1, but I did split up my part 1 into 2 pieces. I apologize. What he said at the end there when it comes to reconstructing your workplace so it's anti-racist, where he has said, and he will continue to say, that technically people who believe in critical race theory believe in anti-racism, and they believe America itself is racist, that every philosophy, every culture, every identity to America is whiteness, is white supremacy, is racism. So, AKA, they see racism everywhere. So it's not that I can go into a workplace and there may just not be any racism, or there may not be any whiteness ideology being practiced in this workplace, so I can rest easy. It's racism is practiced here because it's built off of white supremacy. It's built off of whiteness. It's built off of racial and racist identities or white identities. So you have to go in there and reconstruct it no matter what. It's there. Take your magnifying comb, take your fine-tooth comb and fucking find it. And this is what I said when I said earlier, my first half of this video, is that it's almost like they're creating paranoid schizophrenics. Because it's like, it's not that it's not there, it's there. And he even used the word hidden. The hidden whiteness, the hidden racism, hidden, hide, it's hiding from you, so find it, it's everywhere. It's, and the thing is, again, they're the ones who get to decide what this is. They're making the rules. They're the gods of this new constructed world. They're trying to build the world in their image, in their ideology, but who hired them to do that? Who elected them to do that? They're making the rules up. I don't agree with this. There's a lot of people that don't agree with this. A lot of people of color that don't agree with this. But no, they don't listen to our voices because apparently we have internalized whiteness and we're not racially authentic. We don't have racial consciousness. They're the ones, it's like a cult. They came up with their belief system, ideology, and they're shoving it down your fucking throats. And they basically are saying that everything is racist. And any objection to this is racist. Because everything is racist. Basically. In so many words, everything, every idea, every belief system, anything that's ever been born and constructed or birthed in America is racist. So anybody who has an objective to this is just racist. So you can't argue with us, you can't debate with us, you can't say our ideology is wrong because you're just coming from a place of whiteness and racism. Anyway guys, I'm gonna end it here. I apologize again that this video was emotional. It's how I feel. This very much agitates me. And if I was a parent and I found that they were teaching this to my kids, I would be very, very upset. This doesn't help anyone. It builds culture of enablism. It builds culture of victimhood. This doesn't help communities at all. And the people who push this, they only push it because it makes them feel good to push it. They don't care about the communities. They care about how they come off. It makes them feel good, like they're radicals and revolutionaries and they're changing the world. Where all they're doing is hurting the communities they say they want to help. Anyway, guys, that is all I have to say. Please like, comment, subscribe. Hit the button to get notifications when I do upload. That really does help with the algorithm, guys. And if you'd like to support this channel any further, you can donate. My PayPal link is in the description box below and also in the comment section. Of course, it helps, but you don't have to. You can like, comment, and subscribe. Another great way to support this channel is visit my brand new merch shop. Links down below. And I also have my other channels, Mika Reaction Reviews. I also have my travel channel, Live, Love, Life, and Travel. Links down below. I'm exhausted by this. You guys have an amazing day. Bye.